Hi all, this is Simona Rich, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to plug out of the hive mind. I recently accepted friend requests of many astrologers, as well as sent friend requests to astrologers and other people, because now I'm using the Facebook friend suggest tool, which is good. It expands my readership. And what I've noticed, that even astrologers are so caught up in this election game of the US. So if they live in the US, they will use their social accounts for posting information for or against Trump or Biden. And for me, this means that it's such a sad thing, because people in spiritual occupations should be detached from these things, because they are of this world. These are political games designed to get you involved, and then you take the side, and you are given these two representatives that are controlled by the same forces. And I know some of you will disagree, but why would you vote anyway for someone else to rule over you? And it's so much encouraged to vote. All the celebrities of the world, if they are very famous, they will encourage through their social media accounts for people to keep voting, because if you vote, you decide to be ruled by other people. Why would you do that? You can create your own world, but you have to detach from the hive mind if you want to create your own reality. And it's actually very easy to do, but unfortunately people think that media doesn't affect them, that they can consume news every single day, yet they will be unaffected by it. And this is not the case. What you observe, what you listen to, what you get exposed to affect you. So if you don't want to be part of this hive mind that's going nowhere now with this pandemic, then you have to detach from these sources. And I sometimes listen to the person which is called, I think his name is, and he says some outrageous things, and I don't agree, of course, with everything that he says, but he does make a point. He says about the elite that controls us. Many of them are Jewish. I'm not against Jewish people, but yes, some of them do control the world. Of course, this is obvious. And he says the way for them not to have any influence over you is to do, and I don't remember if I will list all the things that he said, but he certainly said not to fight their wars. So people fight wars thinking that they are doing such a favor for their country, but these wars are all engineered. You're fighting for the elite. You're not fighting for your people, and with wars, what you're getting is more wars. So he told not to be involved, not to take part in their wars so that they don't affect you. Then the next thing to do is not to get in debt to them, to the banks, which most traditional people do, because they listen to their parents, they get loan for their education, so they start their lives already as slaves with big debt. What a shame, and parents encourage that. If you're in debt, you're a slave to someone. So not to get involved in wars, not to get in debt. And then he said not to listen to their music and not to watch their videos, their movies. So he may have listed one more thing, I don't remember, but these are so important, and it applies just to the elite in general. How not to get enslaved, how not to get influenced by the elite. You are the one choosing to get influenced by them. They are just seducing you with what they offer. So in order not to get influenced by them, don't watch what they create. And what they create is just trash. All that the elite creates through the major production channels is trash. It creates material that makes people cheap. They lose their value. They become common. They lose their morals. So do not willingly, especially pay to listen to horrible music that encourages you to lose your values, lose your morals, and not to watch their movies. And that's how you stay away from their control. So it's not actually that they are imposing control on you, they are seducing you to actually allow them to control you, because you're consuming their material. So if you don't do these things, then you're already so much detached from their control, and you can create your own reality. That's what I do. I don't live in the reality of the masses. Now what happens in the world? Now everyone is afraid of this fake virus. I don't believe it's real. I haven't seen it at all. If it's pandemic, for sure, we would see people dying on streets, and the world is as it is. The world is as it always was, and it's just the news that makes us scared. But since I don't watch it, I just don't see much change in the world. Just people now wear masks, and you can't sit in restaurants. You have to take things out if you want to order something from restaurants or cafes. So these are the only changes that I see. But people who watch news all the time, they're plugged into that matrix. They are so scared. All their lives now are about preventative measures, just hoping that you will not die. So the elite keeps people on such low vibration. And when you say that you don't believe in virus or you don't think it's serious, the people who subscribe to it are ready to attack you. It's just so sad. So they are the ones watching the news, and so they actually pay for the subscription to news channel, and they get this dark information that they consume, and then they are fearful. So this is their fault. It's very easy to plug out of it. Just stop consuming this mainstream information that is created by very few and distributed all over the world. And that's why the news, major news, are all identical. The measures to deal with this, in my opinion, non-existent virus are identical. How so? Even among countries that were between each other, all of them are ruled by the same forces. That's why going to fight to support one side or another is futile. All of them are controlled by the same forces, and they create wars to feed off of that low energy of desperation and anger. They like these dark forces that control the world, love this energy. So they always create it, even in not only worldwide, like through wars, but even in private homes. When people watch news and they're scared, when they're watching movies that are lustful or movies that promote violence, all these emotions that people get, those low emotions, they are food of the dark forces that control the world. So people willingly pay for these dark materials. They pay for them, they consume them, and then they complain that their life is horrible, that nothing goes their way, that there are many obstacles. That's because you plugged in to their world through your own choice. You're actually investing money. to get what they produce. If you withdraw your attention and resources from them, they will not be able to affect you. And there are so many other alternative sources to get entertained. Unfortunately, most of them are available through their own channels, those channels of darkness, yet those channels can be used for light. So I also use YouTube because most people watch it. But there are so many other creators also that use YouTube, but they are not dependent on, they are not the puppets of the dark forces. So you can watch their independent creations or read blogs of people who are just doing what they like in life. And so you then start being exposed to another kind of energy, the energy of empowerment, where people are expressing themselves creatively and they do what they love. And this is such better content, because I remember I used to watch when I was a teenager cartoons and news, not so much news, cartoons and movies of the mainstream, and then I would get depressed and I would never connect the dots, because it's not obvious that what you expose yourself to, that's how you feel. And then I stopped consuming this dark content, and now when I want to get entertained, I watch some video of independent creator, someone that is similar to what I used to do, for example, traveling the world, going to India. So I like watching solo females traveling somewhere. And when I watch such content, I feel so happy, because we're watching fellow children of God, fellow lights, and not content created by darkness. So you kind of get that inspiration and happiness from the creations of other children of God. So there are always choices, but unfortunately, because the dark forces have so much world's resources that they can create very appealing picture, yet what they present is trash, but the picture is so beautiful because the quality is so good that people are just tempted to watch that, unfortunately. But for me, even if an independent creator creates her or his content on a bad smartphone, poor camera, and the quality is bad, I look at the material itself, you know, the kind of person that creates the content, and not the quality. For me, it's not as important as what is represented, rather than how, you know, what quality it is it is shown, if you know what I mean. So that's how I get entertained, and I live in my own created world. Really, my reality is different from the reality of the masses. The masses create their own reality because they get exposed to that one like source of darkness that produces content in different way, but their purpose is to destroy you, to make you a slave. So that's why people feel so bad, and the reality of the masses is just horrible. So if you disconnect from that, you do not get exposed to their material, but you get exposed selectively to the material of people who made it, who live their lives according to their own rules, who live their lives the way that they want. So you selectively choose to get exposed to these kinds of channels, so to speak. Then you will see your reality shifting, because your thoughts will change, your perception will change, and then your life will change. So it's not hard. You just have to stop doing what the majority does. And I don't know if you would notice that, but I remember when I would watch the content of the dark forces, the Hollywood movies and like popular music, there is certain energy that all of those creations have, and it's a very poor energy of darkness and poverty. Like there is absolutely no love or creative force. It's just trash. I don't know how to even describe it, but that energy is just so alien and bad. So some people may feel that undercurrent of every Hollywood movie, of every major song. And when you watch independent content, of course, there is no that energy. So you can actually check. Sometimes the content looks like it's independent, but many people watch it and it's captured by the dark forces, and you feel that undercurrent. It's like a plant. The atmosphere that you know that content has a purpose and it's dark one, that it's very planned. I don't know how to describe it, but there is certain flavor of those creations of the dark forces, and if you're spiritually attuned, you will know what I mean. And of course, if you watch independent creators, there is none of that. It's just they are also children of God, and when you watch them, you feel happy and inspired, and there is no sadness at all. And whilst after watching the creations of Hollywood and so forth, later on you will feel depressed, unhappy, and you will not know why, but you are allowing your brain to be affected by the suggestions, the atmosphere of those dark forces. You basically paid for it or exposed yourself to it, and then you get it. So I highly encourage people to get detached from everything of mainstream, because the masses unfortunately are totally ruled by the dark forces. How can people not see that this virus is planned, that it's total psychological operation, so to speak, to make people into slaves, to change the society? How can people not see it? Everywhere, in every country, the same measures are taken. Of course, every country is ruled by the same force. It's so obvious, but people are so hypnotized because they watch news all the time. They just don't get it. So sad. So please detach from everything of the mainstream so that you don't get their destiny, which isn't a good destiny. And create your own world. Even at this time, you can do so. You can create your own reality where the dark forces cannot affect you, because they cannot affect you if you don't consume what they give you, what they tempt you to pay for. If you detach from it, that's it. Their power is gone over you. And then you're free to create your own world. So I highly encourage people to detach from the forces of darkness in the form of movies, just popular culture. There's all kinds of forms of immorality, like dressing seductively but which looks cheap and so forth. And just get in touch with who you really are, which is very holy, which is divine. You are part of God. You don't belong to that soulless darkness that they produce for people to consume. So detach from that and then get in touch with who you really are and enjoy the content of independent creators who are like you, the children of God. And then you can really create life according to your own terms, the way that you really want, even in this crazy situation, in these crazy times. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Take care.